We're enthused to be such long-term customers of InBody. It has been part of our secret of success for building both our compounded semaglutide weight care program here at Miramont, as well as building a very robust hormone, bioidentical hormone balancing program. We use it in managing our metabolic disease patients, and there's just not a better tool out in the market. And I'm happy to speak with anyone who's interested about the virtues of the machine. We've had ours for over 10 years, and they're durable. They give great results that are predictable. The staff love them, and just thank you for the many years of partnership, Bradley.
Welcome to Beyond the Scale, where we delve into the transformative stories of business owners who have harnessed the power of body composition to transform not only their enterprises, but also the lives of their customers and patients. I'm your host, Bradley from InBody, and we're going to go beyond the numbers to explore the profound impact that body composition can have on your medical family practice and medical spas. If you have an InBody or thinking about getting one, you don't want to miss this conversation. So without further ado, let's go. Today, my guest is Dr. John Bender. He has been using InBody for nearly a decade in 3 clinics in Colorado, the Miramont Wellness Centers. He's a board-certified family medicine physician, a fellow of the American Academy of Family Physicians, and we met recently in Cancun at a BioT event where we were focusing on hormone replacement therapies and effective implementation of medical weight loss programs. So, thank you for joining me, Dr. Bender. How are you today?
Doing well. Thank you, Bradley. Appreciate you having me here today.
Tell me more about yourself. Where did you get your start in medicine, and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, my wife, Teresa, and I moved back to Fort Collins, Colorado in 2002. We started with 1 employee and 1 computer, and we've grown to 3 office locations, 60 employees, and about 25,000 patients. We launched a weight care program circa 2010, invested in our first InBody unit, loved the device, purchased another one. Probably unfortunately for you as a sales guy, they are very durable, so we have not replaced them. The technology continues to work for us, and we have performed thousands of studies on patients over the years.
Tell me more about your business. Let's zoom out a little bit and think about what kind of programs, products, services, what do your customers experience when they come to Miramont?
Well, I always wanted to develop world-class primary care. You hear about world-class, cancer centers, MD Anderson, world-class internal medicine, Mayo Clinic, world-class for a number of different specialties. But what would world-class primary care look like? And so for us, it includes in-house lab, x-ray, mammography, ultrasound, fluoroscopy, colonoscopies, liposuction, conscious IV sedation. We have robotic vending machines. We have scribes that drive robots. We have a very robust compounded semaglutide program. You and I met in Cancun because we are also involved in, a little shameless plug for BioT, hormone replacement. And what we have found is that by having an integration between all these different modalities, we can create a basket of services for folks. We also offer a full med spa, and they complement each other in so many different ways. And the InBody has really been a very unique tool to sort of link these different programs together. For example, and this is just a real life story. Patients will come in and they want to lose weight, but they've read online that they're going to lose muscle. And we'll tell them, you may lose a little muscle, but it's not going to be as much as you think. Here's what we've got to help maintain that. We can maybe balance out your testosterone. And the InBody measurement, especially when it's trended over time, I mean, a baseline study is great, but the real value is being able to look at someone like I did today and say, here's where you were 8 years ago, here's where you are now. We can factor in what that 8 years of aging is and show them that with the program, they actually have more muscle than they did 8 years ago. They've lost the fat, they've gotten to their ideal body weight. And that's very encouraging for people. It gives them the proof in the pudding, if you will.
So is everybody testing on the InBody when they come into the practice? Is it a standard part of the way you do business with a patient that comes in any case, or who's testing on the InBody?
Well, that would be an ideal. Unfortunately, not. I mean, for example, we even though we could, we don't always measure every last pediatric patient. We have some folks, 102 years old, might be in a wheelchair, may not be as easy to measure on the device. So there's going to be some outliers, but we really do try to make it the fifth vital sign, if you will. Um, I'll do a BMI chart on everyone, but the limitations of the BMI chart, occasionally there's a person whose InBody is going to match what we're seeing there, but that's the outlier. Most people, that BMI chart is going to over or underestimate their body fat. And we find that the body composition measurement is just a much more scientifically sound way to track people, especially when they're in a care plan that is utilizing expensive medications and therapies.
What kind of changes do you see in body composition related to the different therapies that you provide?
Sure. So one of the areas I alluded to earlier, very exciting these days, are the GLP-1s, and I do write for Ozempic and Wegovy, but we also have a large retail store patient population, partly because we also offer a direct primary care program where people pay $75 a month, join us like a gym. And these consumers are very cost conscious. And so being able to offer a reduced price compound semaglutide is very exciting for them because it allows them to take advantage of these new peptides. And one of the things that many patients will be concerned about when they come into our office is how much muscle they're going to lose. At the end of the day, we don't just want to be skinny, people want to look toned. We want to have our muscle, we want to maintain our core strength. And at first, I was very skeptical. I wasn't certain that this was the best way to lose weight. Is it really safe to lose 8 to 14 pounds in a month? But we were surprisingly pleased as we started reviewing our InBody body composition tests on our first 100 or so patients. And we realized that the vast majority were losing fat to muscle at a ratio of about 6 to 1 or even 10 to 1. So typical gentlemen come in losing 20 pounds. They might lose 2 pounds of muscle. They would lose, let's say, 14, 15 pounds of fat, and the rest would be water weight. And that was reassuring to them and to us. We also noticed that for folks who were doing the hormone balancing, the testosterone, that they also tend to retain muscle a little bit better. In fact, I have a number of individuals I've de-identified. I've made some graphs who lost weight, but at the end of that, they had more pounds of muscle, Bradley, than when they started. So maybe they lost 20 pounds, their muscle went up 15, they lost 25 pounds of fat, and they lost some water in there as well. And so it was really very rewarding to see that that was a possibility by combining the treatments of the semaglutide with the hormone replacement.
How has the InBody contributed to a data-driven approach when managing your patient outcomes? You said you had some de-identified data and graphs. Are you seeing any? Are you trending any of this data overall, or how has it impacted your business on a
Well,
whole?
sure. I have more robust data here recently just because we've been paying more attention to it than perhaps maybe we were 8 years ago when we were still sort of novices and just learning how to best leverage the InBody for providing patient care. Our original business model, we were charging everyone for the study. And what we've done now is we've democratized it. So, I mean, I've had the machines for years, they've been paid off for years. And our really only consumable is the ionic solution that we use to wipe their feet to provide better contact with, and maybe the paper forms that we use to print out. So our overhead's pretty low. It's really just the labor to perform the test. But we'll charge, I think, a nominal $20 for people who aren't members. For people who are members of our direct primary care, we do the test for free. And for our compounded semaglutide customers, we do the test for free. We also will offer it at no cost during our any open house we have. So like we just had a Mother's Day MedSpy vent. We ran this through Eventbrite, had really good participation. 75 people signed up, and we allowed people to have the test for free just as an introduction to it. But aside from all that, just getting back to the science, uh, where we've also seen an impact is on the visceral fat. So individuals who come in, I'll talk to them about that fat that's marbled around their kidneys, their liver, their pancreas, that's leading to fatty liver or prediabetes. And we will prove to them as their visceral fat improves, that range is 0 to 20. As we get it under 10, which is our initial goal, their A1C, their fatty liver, their transaminases all improve. And that also is reassuring to the patient that they're no longer damaging their internal organs. And they have several sets of numbers that are improving congruently, and they can see that relationship between their body mass, their body composition, and their overall metabolic health.
So you're doing the InBody alongside of all blood work for your patients, and it sounds like it helps make the micronutrients of the blood work, if you will, relatable to the macronutrient of the body composition, the muscle, the water, the fat. Do you see that as true?
The ultimate tests, such as strength, for example, or agility. There's some other ways to measure that. That we have to include with it. We have an in-house physical therapist, for example, so sometimes we'll look at a number of different things. People can have good muscle and still feel fatigued, for example. I mean, one test doesn't give us everything, but the body composition measurement, particularly because it gives us that visceral fat, it also gives us a metabolic number for calorie counting that can be of value to someone who's doing calorie counting. I've moved away a little bit from calorie counting. There was a phase in my life where we did a lot of that. And there's some patients I still do where we'll prescribe a diet and have them watch some movies. We offer a cooking class. We've had people gone through a cooking class as well, where we'll try to teach them how to eat and factor that in. We also use other devices to measure VO2, and we can factor that into the calorie number. But time and time again, really the biggest benefits for us, Bradley, of the InBody have been able to trend out that body fat, to trend out the muscle composition, especially the number of pounds of muscle they have relative over time to their weight loss, and that visceral fat component, whether we can get them under that 10 or drive it even under 8 or down to 7 for their metabolic health. Those three measures have been invaluable for us, and they're hard to replicate with other modalities. I mean, there's some other machines out there. People have their withings and they'll say, well, I know my body composition, I know my body fat. And I'm like, well, you don't know it by limb, and you don't know your visceral fat, you don't know your core fat. So we like to help people get as much data as possible. And the InBody is a very convenient way to do that.
Why did you choose InBody?
We had started at the American Obesity Association at the time, and had gone to a conference and had seen the InBody in action. We also were at the Exponential Medicine Conference, I believe was the name of it, in the Hotel Coronado. And I'd seen the device twice in a 1 year period at two different trade shows. And at the time, there really wasn't as many of these health scales like we see now. They're Bluetooth compatible and that for consumers. And we wanted something medical grade. I mean, rather than picking up a consumer device, they might weigh themselves once or twice a day. Our scale at our Stone Mesa office is seeing 140 people a day. So we needed something a little more robust for that InBody unit. And we're not doing 140 InBodies a day. Don't misquote me there. That's just the scale in the hall. But the that InBody unit is able to handle the volume that we see in a medical clinic. And as I attested to earlier, they have stood the test of time. I don't ever remember having to call to have them serviced or do any kind of software upgrade where it was no longer compatible with the printer or some of the other annoying things that happen with our EKG machines, our spirometries, and practically every other medical device that we purchase.
What advice would you offer to a doctor or a clinic just getting started with body composition and getting their InBody?
Well, like any investment, they should do a cost benefit analysis. Look at what the price point's going to be. We own 570 units. That's a particular brand that we purchased, make and model. So they need to look at that total cost. Then they need to look at their patient volume. Good rule of thumb is try to break even on something in under 2 years. It's probably a good investment. And these machines are going to last a long time. I don't know what you're warranting them for right now, Bradley, but mine have lasted a decade, so we're very happy. Obviously, and they're very robust, and we move them from time to time. We carry them around, move them to different rooms. Although for the most part, they stay put. But the next step is really to get the staff engaged. I mean, let every staff member do their body composition measurement. You may have a nurse that's self-conscious. Let her go in and weigh herself when no one's looking, and do the report privately, what have you. But everyone, the first thing they think when they see someone else doing this, well, I wonder what my number is, right? So satisfy that curiosity, get your staff engaged. You also will make them more competent in administering the test if they've done one themselves, especially if they trend it out over time. Use it on anyone that you are having a weight care program for. That's a no-brainer. Anyone on weight care, you want to know what's happening to their fat and muscle over time. We did have an individual here recently that kind of shocked us, where she was losing way too much muscle. And so we had to go back and redo her diet plan and figure out what was going wrong with her weight loss, because that's not healthy. But those are outliers. That doesn't happen very often here at Miramont, but at least we caught it because we had the InBody composition data available to us. And I would recommend anyone who's on a metabolic plan, the folks with dyslipidemia, with elevated A1Cs, metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, diabetes, use the InBody as a way to look at that visceral fat and make certain that that's trending in the right direction. Again, because at the end of the day, we want to address truncal obesity as much as we do obesity on the hips and arms, etc.
You mentioned the visceral fat. We talked about muscle. What about the water hydration values?
That is definitely important, especially for weight care. Many people don't recognize that the mechanism of these peptides, the GLP-1s for weight loss, which are all the rage right now, is they put the liver into ketosis. And we sometimes forget what that really means. So what is ketosis? It's your body taking a fat molecule, it adds a water molecule, turns it into one of several different ketone bodies, the majority of which is beta hydroxybutyrate. And then the person is going to metabolize that and exhale it as carbon dioxide and water. So where does the fat go? You literally breathe it out. It's like a jet airplane turning jet fuel into a chemtrail, right? But that process requires water. Outside the body, water puts out fires, but inside the body, we're not oxidizing in an atmosphere of nitrogen. Inside the body, we're oxidizing underwater in a water environment to get that the hydrolysis in that chemical reaction. And so it requires water. And when people are intravascularly depleted, the liver struggles to do that ketosis. Here we are commanding the liver, do ketosis, do ketosis. Here, more, ever escalating doses of semaglutide or what have you. And the liver's saying, I can't do it. So people become intravascularly depleted. They get lightheaded, they get dizzy, they get headaches, they get more nauseated. We tell people not to guess at the water intake, that it's important to measure it out. We like to, at least on the compounded semaglutides, to see people taking around 64 ounces of water a day. On days they work out, we like them to see up to 100 ounces a day. And that hydration drives their ketosis. And when people come in and they've said, well, I only lost 2 pounds this month. You told me to be 8 to 14 pounds. We ask them, are you drinking your water? Oh, I'm not a water drinker. Oh, yes, I am. I'm getting, 3 cans of Sprite in a day. I'm like, whoa. Cannot be water substitutes, right? You still drink coffee, tea, soda, alcohol, but those are all diuretics. You drink 10 ounces, you're going to urinate out 12. We need you drinking actual water while you're on this product to get to your goal. And so looking at hydration status, when people are dehydrated, and I'm in Colorado, it's a dry state. Folks come out here and they're a little sad. They humidity and heat is kind of a tough thing in the South. We don't have that here. That's maybe one of the nice or pleasant things of being in Colorado. But it also means chapped lips and dry skin. And it's great for the hair, by the way. People love their hair when they come out here. But aside from that, we're in a very dry environment. Our humidity is 30% at best, on a good day. And so people become dehydrated very quickly. It's also a factor for living at altitude. I'm at a mile high here, and when people are at altitude, if they get too dehydrated, we see more altitude sickness. So being able to draw someone's attention to their water intake and their water composition as a form of long-term health and also youthfulness. One of the reasons we age as the cells become drier, right? I mean, our skin thins out, our brains thin out, our brain cells don't even have as much water as we age. And helping people to understand it's important for your mitochondrial and cytoplasmic health to stay well hydrated is important. And the InBody tool can be utilized or leveraged to teach people that as well.
How do supplements relate to your programs? I think of like vitamins and minerals. Are those things that you're also prescribing to patients?
Well, we do. So, kind of the short list. Vitamin B12 is important for suppressing sugar cravings, for example, and we'll add that in with our compound semaglutide. And then there's a number of individuals, particularly elderly individuals with intrinsic factor deficiencies, who have to inject B12 from time to time. At my latitude and altitude here in Larimer County, Colorado, we have a lot of vitamin D deficiency. I mean, people just don't go out in the sun and sunbathe. When they do, we have higher incidence of skin cancers than they do at sea level because we don't have as much cloud cover and atmosphere to block out the harmful UV rays. And so vitamin D replenishment is common. If I have 100 people come in and do random blood tests, probably half of them are going to be vitamin D deficient. We use a lot of vitamin D2 50,000 unit weekly capsules to replenish that. There are other supplements that are important for the hormone balancing, like diethylmethane or DIM, that help make sure that we don't produce too much pathways of testosterone metabolism that lead to more acne or hair loss, that kind of thing, some of the untoward side effects. Um, we use a lot of omega-3 fish oil because we're treating hypertriglyceridemia, and that's very effective for that. Um, we use a lot of psyllium fiber because when people are using the peptides, it tends to shut down their gut. And if they're accustomed to a bowel movement every day on these medicines, it's like every 3 days. And so the psyllium helps to flatten the tummy, traps and eliminates waste. That helps reduce the body weight a little bit, but it also speeds up the cycle time of gut transit so that there's physically less time in the gut for the calories, the unwanted calories, that is, to be absorbed. Um, we have a full retail store. There's probably 80 supplements that we're selling. I'd have to think through a little bit more, but those are some of the more common ones that we see day to day.
When I think of ways that people get their return on investment from an InBody, some of them are direct, where people are charging for a test. And a lot of other times there's an indirect return on investment, and supplements are a great way to be able to get that return on investment. Do you think the InBody directly impacted your supplement sales or indirectly?
Well, I mean, my biggest supplement is the testosterone pellet, if you want to look at it that way. We're in the top 3% in the nation for organizations with BioT that pellet. And the bioidentical hormones, we believe, are a game changer. People ask me, well, is it natural to pellet? And I have to tell them, well, no. What's natural is to live to be 50 years old, go through menopause, and then die, because that's what people did 200 years ago when the life expectancy was 50. Now, with our modern technological marvels, we live to be 87, and we just expect to go an extra 37 years, with vaginal atrophy, low libido, brain fog, sarcopenia, osteoporosis. And we do have a bone mineral density testing machine, so we look at bone health as well. in conjunction with the InBody muscle composition but the sarcopenia is going to be best measured on the InBody, and that's a normal, if you will, function of aging. Now, some people don't believe aging is normal; that's all disease, and we just have to find the cures for all these various diseases. But getting back to the point that nothing is going to build muscle and bone as well as the testosterone, and we have bone densities on 10,000 men and women that we've been able to show that, and so, but it also improves that muscle mass. And I'll tell you right now, it does more for women than it does for men. I mean, obviously, yes, testosterone is male sex hormone. Guys go through an andropause of sorts, I was looking at my brother's data here the other day, and he went from 1,000 down to 600 over 10 years on his natural testosterone. So I said, bro, you're down 400 points. Maybe you should do something about it. But we replenish men back to 800 to 1,200, and they feel good with that. But if I have a postmenopausal female who's in her 50s and I give her back the testosterone she had when she was 20, that is a dramatic change, much more than giving any guy testosterone. And the purpose of giving her testosterone is not to make her a man. Again, it's to give her that same testosterone she had when she was 20 at the peak of bone mineralization and muscle mass. It improves stamina, her ability to go the distance. It's also going to help with brain fog, and it'll help with sexual dysfunction, libido. But being able to measure that on the InBody body composition scale and show this person that, hey, her muscle mass is improving, her lean muscle mass is improving, they get very excited about this, because prior to that, I didn't really have anything to build muscle. We would do Premarin and synthetic estrogens for hot flashes, let's say, and get some limited return on investment. But we weren't really seeing the muscle mass improve. And there's a lot of things, a lot of medicines that doctors give people that cause weight gain. Many of our SSRIs, our antipsychotics, our mood stabilizers, the gabapentins, the beta blockers, these are some of the bigger offenders. That weight gain is always fat and water. It's never muscle, right? And as we age, our ability to make muscle is lost over time. In fact, someone gets to be age 90, it can be almost impossible to keep muscle on them, short of giving them some testosterone, which we will do. Even, I think our oldest patient right now is 92 years old. And we'll do that comfortably because it improves their quality of life. People talk about lifespan, but we really should be talking about health span. It's great if you live to be 92, but if you're only healthy till you're 65 and had to live another 30 years unhealthy, is that so great? Not really. And we feel that the bioidentical hormones help with health span, and not necessarily lifespan, but with health span. They're a lifestyle medicine. But being able to quantify not just hey, we made your number look better on the lab test, being able to show someone, hey, you've actually enriched your muscle, your composition. You're no longer headed towards sarcopenia. You're heading toward a normal muscle mass comparable to what you had maybe premenopausal. That's very exciting. And we love being able to document that and hand people a report that they can take home with them.
Are there any other medications where the mechanism of action might cause a loss in muscle mass or inflammation within the body, or things that you might be able to identify while looking at the InBody, negative effects of certain medications over time that can then be addressed by understanding that thing is happening?
Certainly. I mean, there's so many different classes, Bradley, we talked about. I mean, we treat cancer patients, and those individuals are getting chemotherapy. My sister had some Hodgkin's lymphoma here a few years ago that I helped diagnose. And that was one of the things I was concerned about is my sister losing her muscle as she's going through chemotherapy, because that's a common thing that happens. Surgical care patients, people recovering from major operations. We've had individuals who they're not getting their goal, but they had to have their hip replaced, so they weren't able to exercise. They couldn't maintain their muscle mass. And then we'll see it because we're able to quantify per limb on the InBody machine that, hey, here's the one leg. They were both equal. Now you've had it replaced, and you've lost this much muscle relative to the other. Gives them an ability, a goal to shoot for, to try to balance that back out. from a straight standpoint as they're working with their physical therapist. A lot of times we can't avoid those medicines. We can't tell people, well, we can't do your chemotherapy. I'm going to recommend different health shakes, and there's a number of different products you can buy over the counter, like the Garden of Life is basically all plant-based nutrition. It's a long ingredient list, but there's no garbage in it. It's basically everything that you might buy at a farmer's market, for example, ground up. There's other products like Jonathan Berg's line of supplements that are available online that have some data showing that they promote or help reverse the sarcopenia associated with some of these muscle wasting medications.
Tell me about Direct Health and what is that? How does it work?
So, Direct Health is a telehealth platform that allows us to asynchronously communicate with our patients in between visits and then perform video encounters as well as phone calls, basically, without revealing my personal cell phone number or the personal cell phone numbers of my care team. We love it because of some abilities that we have over some of the competitors out there like Doximity or Doxy, in the sense that most of those other telehealth platforms, while the person's chatting with the doctor on video live, things are great. But as soon as the encounter is over, they may have to resort back to an email type portal where they may not get a response for days. This is more like texting. And I can include the rest of my care team, again, without disclosing their personal cell phone numbers. So I'll have my pharmacy tech or my scribe or my scheduler or one of my nurses on the call who, one of our health coaches, for example, that can jump in, answer questions, or if it's a weekend and they don't want to be bothered, they can ignore the conversation, but I can respond instead. It does allow the physician to bill for the encounter. We can charge a copay. We can charge a retail price for the visit, and that goes directly into our bank account. So it's different than like an EHR where it has to go through some sort of clearinghouse and you don't get paid for weeks. It also allows us to translate chats. So when a patient is texting me in Russian or Spanish, I can respond back in English. They see the chat string in their native language. I see it in my native language. We can also e-prescribe on it. So I've been out on my boat on the lake. In the olden days, if I had to send a prescription at that point, I had to call and sit on hold waiting for a pharmacist. I'd have to go park my boat, pull up a laptop, try to get some Wi-Fi, and send a prescription through the internet. Now I just do it on my phone, and it literally takes, I'm not making this up, we've timed it, I've gotten it down under like 30 seconds. And so it's just a way to improve the quality of life for the physician delivering that care, and also to improve the integration in care delivery over a continuum for patients. Our biggest demand right now is for our weight care patients. And thanks to some changes in the rules about doing telehealth, also with the compact licensing that allows physicians to have like a telehealth license in multiple states at the same time, we've been able to expand our footprint and start taking care for a larger number of people. And you might ask, well, how are you going to do an InBody on someone who lives in another state? What we do is we go to the InBody website, we put in the zip code, and I find them a provider, and I say, here's 3 providers in the Houston area. In fact, I just did this the other day, and she went and got one and uploaded it, and so we were able to share the results. So the fact that InBody is a national concern and has machines all over the country has allowed us to be able to use this technology even for the patients who can't physically come into my own bricks and mortar location.
We have a home scale, our H30 model, which shows total weight, pounds of muscle, percentage of body fat, a visceral fat score, and a basal metabolic rate. And you could ship those out to customers anywhere across the country, and they can actually grant you permission to see their data inside of the Look and Body web software. So you or your care team could see all of their body composition data. And then maybe even one day down the road, we could have an API integration with direct care so that this information can show up right on the screen for the patient and everybody else to be able to see. So if somebody wanted to learn more about direct health, how could they get involved with that and connect to learn more?
Excellent. So if you're on Android, you go to the Google Play Store. If you're on an iOS or Apple phone, you go to the Apple Store. You just type in the words direct health with space in between, 2 words, and it's going to show up. There's 2 versions. Direct health for doc is the provider version, clinician version, and it's a simple verification. We do have an extra step because we don't just want anyone to download it and then say, hey, I'm a doctor, but we do validate them. And then once we have completed that, they're able to use the app. For patients, it's much simpler. They basically download it; it's ready to go. They do have to connect with the physician, and there's a number that they can. There's a number of physicians they can choose from according to their state. In the we call it the carousel at the top. Or if they get a code from their physician, they can type it in. It'll connect them with them directly.
For all you InBody customers out there, thank you for tuning in. And if you're thinking about getting an InBody, we're ready to help you. And you can go to inbodyusa.com/beyond the scale, and we'll give you a special offer there. A member of our team will reach out to you. And thank you so much, Dr. Bender, for joining us here today. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you.